It is around 400 BC, and two naked men, all lubed up in olive oil, are beating the shit out of each other. You know, typical Greek male behavior. They try to toss each other up, punch each other in the face, and so on. After an excruciatingly long and gruesome duel, one naked man is the winner in the games. Another normal day in ancient Greece, right? Sure, except for one thing. The wrestling champion is actually Plato. So you may know Plato as the philosopher that came up with the allegory of the cave, or the first philosopher who proposed an utopian society. You may even know him as the guy who first talked about platonic love, you know, like the love you feel for a girl that finds you disgusting. I'm trying to tell you that he was that, but much more. Plato was a badass. He was a Chad, an absolutely insane dude. His actual name wasn't even Plato. It was Aristocles. So you may be thinking, why do I call him Plato? Plato was his wrestling nickname, given to him by his trainer. But what does it mean? Broad. Yes, Plato probably had a huge back or chest. He was incredibly ripped. No joke, this is the main reason given by scholars. Some also say it may be due to his abnormally large head, which is also cool. Imagine a society that calls its most notable mind Big Head. Hey man, I was thinking about Aristocles, the son of the noble Ariston. He's so smart. Yeah, that guy is literally outside of the cave. I wish I was that smart, man. We should call him Big Head. Haha, yo, Big Head, Big Head. Off. Anyways, back to Plato. Plato was part of one of the great Athenian families. His father's side claimed ancestry from Neptune and his mother's side from Solon, the great Athenian lawgiver. So he was kind of a big deal in the city. In ancient Greece, people like him thought that working with their hands was something for stupid people. So they devoted all of their time to thinking, screaming at each other in public places, and playing sports. Plato chose the most violent sport and one of the craziest possible people to learn from, Socrates. This was a crazy relationship, because imagine Plato as this huge muscular aristocrat, wrestling champion, all decorated in gold, sitting and learning from an illiterate, stinking, ugly war veteran wearing rags. People aren't actually even sure if Socrates existed. As far as we know, he could have been just a character imagined by Plato. This is a very badass exercise for the mind, but I digress. Let's get back to the image of the Chad aristocrat learning from the beggar. Socrates' teachings became a huge scandal in Athens, to the point where he was sentenced to death. Some say he was daring the gods, some say he was misleading young men such as Plato. The fact is, after he was killed, Plato decided to double down on philosophy. He could have backed down, but he decided to build the Academia, the first building dedicated to the study of philosophy. The Academia finally allowed the development of ideas and the mental development of great minds in the Greek aristocracy, such as Aristotle. Aristotle would grow to teach the greatest leader of the classical world, but this is a topic for another video. The fact is, after Plato saved philosophy from vanishing and taught Aristotle its ways, he wasn't satisfied. By now you should have imagined that. We're talking about an abnormally huge Greek aristocrat. Being a teacher for the rest of his life? Come on. Plato decided that he would apply his political ideas in real life, so he traveled all the way from Athens to Sicily. When he arrived, his plan was to depose the despot Dionysius and to put his student Dion in power. You know, just Plato things. Turns out that Plato was a real great philosopher, but a very shitty schemer, and so he was caught very quickly. I guess no one can have it all, am I right? By that time, Plato was bald and starting to get senile, but he still had his most important characteristic: a jacked body. So they spared his life and sold him as a slave. By a stroke of luck, Plato was bought by an admirer, who immediately freed him and sent him back home to Athens. Oh Zeus, Big Head is finally gone.
A slave in Italy, what a shitty ending.
Get out of the cave! Plato received many job offers when he returned to Athens. Can you imagine which one he took up? To go back to Syracuse to plot a coup against the government once again. After the second failure, Plato finally decided to stay in Athens and die in peace. And the funny thing is that the details about his death are actually quite specific. He was sleeping while a young Thracian girl was playing the flute, and then, suddenly, he died. What a stud. So, if you can learn anything from Plato, apart from his top-tier philosophy, it is: don't neglect your physique, and don't think you're too smart to take risks. You're not smarter than Plato, and he could probably still kick your ass.